If you have flown recently, domestically, you might have noticed the prices have gone up again. If you're the ACC boss, though, well, you can burn through $32,000 on a trip overseas, but that's another story. Air New Zealand quietly introduced charges to its baggage prices last week, with fees increasing for many travellers. The new prices for prepaid, excess and overweight baggage, as well as domestic pet carriage, came into force on Thursday. A spokesperson for the national carrier said, like many Kiwis and businesses, we are experiencing a high-cost environment, which means we're having to adjust pricing across several areas. Now, this is off the back of Air New Zealand raising their long-term domestic airfares across all routes last month. The average airfare went up $51. That's a hike, eh? It's the average, but to $200 per one-way airfare for the year ending September 2023. That is up 34%. That's a 34% rise on the previous year. Joining me now is aviation industry expert Irene King. Irene, welcome in. Thank you for your time.
No problems.
Irene, Air New Zealand claims that their pricing is, and I'm using their words, dynamic, but they have more than 80% of the domestic market. So do they really mean they've got us over a barrel?
Yes and no. The prices are dynamic, and we drive that dynamic basis in the sense that, we control. Most of the domestic fares are sold via the internet, and so It comes down to what you and I are prepared to pay. And so that's what's different today than, say, 10 years ago. So we actually make the choice, not some travel agents, but we make those choices and we commit. For those of us that have got flexible travel plans, it's quite good. For those that have to travel, of course, it's not so good.
But they've put the price up, and then I think the prices were put up in February as well. Are you saying though that's driven by obviously it's market rate because more people are flying?
Well, no, there's a few things going on here. One is we're definitely operating in a capacity-constrained world, because they've got quite a lot of their fleet out with, really serious engineering problems. But what I am saying is that you and I, if we're flexible in our travel choices, then we control what we're prepared to pay. And yes, if we're not constrained, then Air New Zealand determines. So if we stop buying, particularly us flexible travellers, if we stop buying, then they will drop their prices. It's simply constrained market, and the demand is meeting that constrained market. So if the demand switches off, and we start saying, we're going to drive rather than fly. But
there's the problem, isn't it? That's the problem when they've got 80% of the domestic market. It's like saying, I'm not going to go and buy groceries because I know the supermarkets are ripping us off and we've only got a handful to choose from. I mean, they're always going to... We don't have the luxury of other countries where we have multiple airlines in here.
I guess I think we're saying the same thing. All I'm saying is that I control, if I'm flexible, I control where and when and how I fly. So I might decide on Jetstar, or I might say, no, I'm not going to travel at 8 o'clock in the morning because I can travel blah, blah, blah. And in fact, I went to Christchurch recently, and yes, it was a 6 o'clock flight out of Auckland, 6 a.m., but it was sort of less than $70. So if we start making those choices, then, we start to drive prices lower. So we go for the low prices and we book early. However, if we are wanting to buy at a specific time, on a specific date, then, we pay the price. And unfortunately, that's a constrained market, and there are other people who are prepared to pay that price, and that's why they can charge it.
The airline,
We are
sorry,
our
Irene.
best enemies. We are our greatest enemies, but we are also our best competitors, if you understand what I mean. You know, we can make choices.
So the airline is also concerned about the Auckland Airport redevelopment, looking at having to pay billions of dollars, along with other airlines, of course, for the new infrastructure. What is that going to look like for customers, do you think? What does that mean for us?
Well, we probably have some great facilities because that's what this is all about. So again, are we prepared to trade off great facilities in New Zealand having to pay higher prices, or do we accept a lower level of facility in lower air prices? You know, the two are sort of trading one off against the other. We can't expect to live in a world where our airfares are really, really low and our facilities are first-rate leading edge. You know, that's paradise. We don't have that. We have trade-offs all the time.
The prices I saw the other day, they thought that the result in charges would increase from $9 per domestic passenger today to $46 in 2032. Yep. I mean...
Yep, and that's based on, you know, a pretty nice...